The first official trailer for Superman is here, so let's get into the breakdown. So getting right into the trailer, we start off with the dynamic of Lois Lane and Clark Kent. And what we got here is, of course, Lois finally getting a interview with Superman. Now, again, she in this scene is trying to separate Superman from Clark Kent. And what happens here is that the two get into a pretty heated argument, I would say, where she is talking about the fact that he's overstepping his bounds and acting not under the jurisdiction of any government. So what we got here is essentially Tony Stark versus Captain America, aka Steve Rogers. You got Lois, who's like, no, you need to be under the control. You need to be told where to go and when to do it. You can't overstep your bounds. And Superman jumps out at her and lashes out at her. And he's like, yo, if I'm not doing this, who's going to do it? I'm ending wars. I'm making the country and the world safer. And what else I like about this is that he changes his voice in this. When he takes on the persona of Superman, he changes his voice for the interview. I think that that's really cool and a nice little touch of detail. And this is actually reminiscent of something that we've seen a lot in Superman and Lois, the CW series that recently wrapped up its 4 seasons. This type of dynamic and the discussion of whether or not Superman should be allowed to be this free to do what he wants around the world or not. We then got the scene of people protesting Superman here and throwing things at him. We can obviously see that this is after, I would say, the kaiju fight, where there's been a lot of collateral damage, and him getting blasted on the news as a guy that's causing a lot of it. Yeah, he's going to be, in the crosshairs. And public opinion of Superman is probably down at an all-time low, along with other superheroes. Probably because of people like this guy, Rick Flag Sr., of course. He's going to be a major part of Peacemaker Season 2. I just recently talked about that and covered that trailer and, broke that down quickly as well. And yeah, Rick Flag, he's working for Argus. So clearly they're in the superhero monitoring aspect of, hey, we want this guy to be reined in. We need him to be brought in, which we'll get to in just a minute. Because as I was talking about collateral damage, there's a great shot in this of Superman, in the middle of a lot of destruction. And this shot in particular just kind of shows off some of the details on the suit and how it's obviously going to get darker and more worn out to look a lot better, when you fill in the gaps and the lines and everything. So a pretty awesome shot. But now let's talk about Superman being arrested. So here we go. We got Superman front and center being escorted out of the building by armed military Argus. And he's being held and handcuffed by Ultraman. Now, to Ultraman's left, our right, we got the engineer from the Authority, and we got Rick Flag Sr., who's obviously running this whole operation. And this is very interesting because it sort of shows us what's happening here. They arrest him, and they're going to toss him into a containment cell, obviously. Now, the man behind everything, none other than Lex Luthor, of course, played by former Beast actor Nicholas Hoult. And he's looking good. We can see that he's running this whole operation. He really hates supers. He's going to do everything he can to stop them and, rain on their parade. And that's exactly what we got here. You could tell that he's got this giant operation overlooking Metropolis here. And if rumors are to be believed, he's the man behind causing all the destruction. Speaking of destruction, the Hammer of Bovia. I think I'm saying that right. The pronunciation hasn't made its way online officially, but we don't know who this is, but he's duking it out with Superman. Rumors are that this is either Lex in the suit or it's Ultraman. We don't really know. It could be one or the other, or it could be a completely new character. Could be another member of the Authority that they just haven't revealed to us yet. So whoever it is, it's very interesting. There's tons of theories. I personally don't know. I'm going to go with Ultraman under there, but again, who really knows? It turns out Superman is, he's getting pounded into the ground, and he gets thrown so hard and bashed so hard that he's in the middle of a giant crater with a random pedestrian coming in to help him out. Again, Superman's going to take a beating in this, which is something we're going to talk about in just a little bit with some more, images that I've gathered here. But let's jump onto this scene of him all burnt up. 100% the kaiju fight. We can tell that he gets hit with fire pretty intensely, especially in the last scene. There's fire all over this building. There's a fire-breathing kaiju. Yeah, this is what's happening here. I really like how the suit is looking the more damaged and worn it gets. It adds those layers. It's filling in those lines. It's just adding a lot more. So he looks, in my opinion, really good here. We then cut to a scene of the engineer from the Authority in the Fortress of Solitude, decimating and destroying everything in her sight. And we see that she's here with Lex Luthor. Now, here, this is very interesting because if we look behind both of them, what we see is that contraption that they used to blast Clark with sunlight. So chances are that they discovered where the fortress is when Superman is being held in captivity. And they go here, they destroy everything. Superman is obviously going to be back, and, the final battle's going to go on. But now let's talk about the death of Superman. Possibly. So yeah, in the trailer, we see Superman's been beaten pretty badly. And if you look at his cheek, you can tell that he's got some discoloration going on there. Maybe like kryptonite poisoning or something. Maybe they shot him with something Kryptonian, and he's out for the count, which makes me believe this is when they go to the fortress. This is when they destroy a bunch of it. And this is when Superman's, going to be recovering, because we see later on there's a shot where he's clearly recovered and he's got that Superman and Lois style 5 o'clock shadow that Taylor had every single scene. So obviously Superman is recovering while some of the other heroes are going to be doing what they're doing, and Lex is executing whatever his plan is, which I'll be back to in just a minute. But of course we see in this trailer that Clark does have both of his parents. Ma Kent is here with Pa Kent, and Martha and Jonathan, although they're not called that here because they've had different names in the comics, they're both here. But let's jump into the Justice Society, or the Justice Gang, or whatever they're called. Some pretty great individual shots of each character here. Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, and Mr. Terrific. And we also get a really good shot of all three of them in a very heroic pose, flying above Metropolis, clearly about to jump into the fight with the giant kaiju that ends up with Superman being arrested and everything that follows in the trailer. Lex looking very smug face-to-face with Superman. This is where I'm guessing he's explaining to him his entire plan, and he's like, aha, you're never going to guess what I did. I'm going to destroy everything, Superman, because I'm evil, see? And there's also this shot of what seems to be like they maybe captured the Justice Gang or whatever they're called, and Lois is there as well. Maybe she's working with Mr. Terrific to try to figure out what was in here, and this is where I'm going to guess, if this is a containment chamber, this is where Ultraman was probably built. Which brings us to the giant eye in the sky thing. Rumors are that this is some sort of black hole, and or possibly the evolution of Ultraman, like he's Parasite actually, and they kind of amalgamated multiple characters. If that's the case, I think that works. So we'll end up seeing what this ends up being, but overall, it's pretty good. It's a real good trailer. I thought that this was a great trailer. Gets you hyped, shows just enough to get you excited, but not spoil a whole lot. Thank you for checking out that video, and thank you for your continued support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you will, and if you're so inclined and would like some additional content from us, which includes unfiltered content and bonus discussions, we do offer exclusively in our member section. We hope to see you there. So thank you for watching, and have a good one.